Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Nelson, here on this wonderful Friday afternoon. And we got some basketball that we are going to talk about. So, the first segment that we're going to cover is the Timberwolves game that happened last night and the very surprising blowout from the Timberwolves at home, and just a little bit of the stories that happened around that game. In the second segment, we're going to talk about OG Anunoby and him being out for Game 6 as the Knicks go up against the Pacers. I'm going to talk a little bit about that game and some predictions as well as the Pacers, because somebody yesterday wanted me to talk about the Pacers, so I'm going to go ahead and do that in the second segment. Now, in the third segment, we're going to talk about the Cavs drama yet again, because now Donovan Mitchell seems to be happy on the Cavs, and I'm like really confused now, like what's going on? Like I'm just confused at everything. And then in the fourth segment, we're gonna talk about LeBron James and Bronny James, because Bronny James is about to get drafted, and LeBron lied to us. Now I'll reveal exactly what he lied to us about in the fourth segment, so stay tuned for that. But we also have a special fifth segment. It's going to be very different from all the other segments because you'll see exactly why. But before I begin, I'd like to just be sure to stay tuned for the fourth segment as I reveal exactly what the fifth segment is going to be. But before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody to please go ahead and use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. The link is GSMCPodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. Once again, the link is GSMCPodcast.net. And with that out of the way, let's go right ahead and talk about the Timberwolves up against the Denver Nuggets. So, Anthony Edwards called it. He's got a little bit of MJ in him. Like, I will definitely say that. This man, when he was in Game 5 over at Denver, he was talking to one of the people who works on the courts for Denver, and he was like, "See you in Game 7." And now in Game 6, the Timberwolves win 115-70. And a little bit of an interesting stat that I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to want to know. That Anthony Edwards is now third in most points per game in the first 10 games of a postseason. So number one is Kobe Bryant in 2001, averaging 32.4 points per game. Number two is LeBron James. Of course, LeBron's going to make a list, averaging 30.9 points in 2006. And now Anthony Edwards averaging 30.2 points in 2024. Age 22 or younger in NBA history. I forgot to add that. So most points per game in first 10 games of the postseason at age 22 or younger goes Kobe, LeBron, then Anthony Edwards. So very impressive stat right there. Another ridiculous stat is that the Nuggets not scoring more than 80 points in a playoff game. They've only done that 3 times in the entirety of Jokic's career. So they've done that twice in this series, and they only did it once in the rest of the Jokic era combined. And that one game was against Rudy Gobert and the Jazz in 2020. So while Rudy Gobert was getting a lot of hate for not being able to guard Jokic and not being able to defend him, and for being a defensive player of the year, he should also get respected as being one of the only people that can somewhat slow him down or somewhat stop his team, this, that, and the other. Because it's no coincidence that every single time that the Nuggets score less than 80 points, it's when Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year. Like, it's no coincidence. It's way too apparent to be a coincidence. And those are just some interesting numbers that went into the series. Another thing that should also be a little bit concerning for these players is that now Jokic is angry. Like, I saw him on the court side. He did not sit down throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter. He stood up, and he was he was mad. Like, he was so upset that he lost that game. It almost looked like he wanted to drop 50, 20, and 14 right on the spot right there. Like, he was really upset. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture of him being upset in this game, but I don't really think it's relatively new, and I don't think there's going to be any images up there just yet. But if you look at the image, like, you just look up Jokic being upset, and like you scroll through Twitter, like, you'll see, like, he was really mad. He was very, very upset. And honestly, I'd be pretty upset as well, getting blown out by this much against the Timberwolves. Granted, the Timberwolves, they're a really good team. Like, we really should give more credit to where it's due, because they've responded, and now they forced a game 7 against the defending champs. And Anthony Edwards in this game, he had 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Obviously, the 27 points is very impressive. 8 for 17 from the field as well. Again, impressive. And Mike Conley, he ended the game with 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. Jaden McDaniels, he ended the game with 21 points. Rudy Gobert ended the game with 8 points and 14 rebounds. And Karl Anthony Towns ended with only 10 points and 13 rebounds. But while he did only have 10 points on 10 shots, again, it didn't really matter, because a win is a win for these guys. And Rudy Gobert, he shot 50% from the field, 4 of 8 for 8 points. That's relatively decent, and honestly, like, the defense that these guys were playing on the Nuggets was just that good. They didn't really need much scoring, considering how, I mean, Jokic was held 9 for 19 from the field, which is very inefficient for his standards. Like, for his standards, that's inefficient. We don't really see Jokic go 9 for 19 like that every single night. And he only had 22 points and 9 rebounds and only 2 assists. Like, that is a very, very low number of assists. And pardon me for, like, going over here and, like, moving my head, but, like, I'm looking at the box scores, and yeah, 22 points is pretty underwhelming for someone like Jokic. Jamal Murray, he hasn't really been playing that well due to his, like, injury and, like, his sprain, but playing defense, like Anthony Edwards playing defense on him as well, also doesn't help. But, like, Jamal's really gonna have to start stepping it up if they're gonna wanna capitalize in Game 7, because 10 points, 5 assists. Again, I understand that he's injured, so you can't really pin it all on him. But if you know you're injured, and why are you taking 18 shots like that? Because he shot 4 for 18 from the field and only amounted to 10 points. That is a lot of shot attempts for somebody who is supposed to be injured. Like, if you're injured like that, don't hinder your team by chucking the ball up. At least that's my thought about it. Because, like, I mean, it could have completely gone the other way around if he was hitting a bunch of shots while still injured, like Luka Doncic. But he's not Luka. So I feel like he should have just, like, relaxed a little bit, maybe don't have the ball, maybe let somebody else handle the offense while you sit there and stand in a corner or, like, spot up for them, because if you're playing injured, you're only going to hurt your team. Like, I remember in 2021 when James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, they were all on the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie got badly injured in game 3 or 4, forget exactly which game it was. But then James Harden comes back from his hamstring injury, or his hamstring soreness that he was suffering after game 2. And instead of, like, you know, helping the team, he was just being the biggest ball hog I've ever seen. He was hogging the ball for 24 seconds, and he was just shooting a very contested step back 3. That wasn't helping our team. That wasn't helping them at all. And it's sort of similar to what Jamal Murray was doing in this game with his injury and just chucking the ball up. Like, that's not going to help your team. Regardless, even if he did or didn't chuck the ball up, the rest of the team wasn't helping that much either. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was 2 for 6 from the field. Michael Porter Jr. was 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. Christian Braun was also 1 of 6 from the field. And there were a lot of people that played in garbage time. Good Lord. Justin Holiday, 0 for 5. Reggie Jackson, 0 for 6. DeAndre Jordan, 0 for 1. Hunter Tyson, 0 for 2. And let's see, Jalen Pickett, 1 for 2. Like, it was incredibly underwhelming in this game. The only player who really played well, the only 2 players that played well were Jokic, and even then, Jokic was rather underwhelming, and Aaron Gordon. But then again, like, Aaron Gordon was 4 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3 with 12 points. It is still a little bit underwhelming, but still, he played pretty well for compared to the rest of the team that was just ugh. And on the Timberwolves side, again, they had Anthony Edwards scoring very well. They also had Jaden McDaniels going 8 for 10. Then Naz Reid played phenomenal defense despite going 4 for 12 from the field. And basically, that was all for the... They didn't really need much scoring in this game because the Timberwolves didn't shoot that efficiently at all. And for Denver didn't shoot efficiently at all whatsoever. I mean, 19% from 3, 7 for 36 from the field, 7 for 36 from 3, and 30% from the field, while the Timberwolves were 37% from 3 and 46% from the field. You're not going to win a game shooting that badly. We have somebody in the chat. Oh, Andrew Tate. Do you give Minnesota a chance in Game 7? Jokic looked really pissed that he lost that game, so I'm scared. And because I've never seen Jokic that angry before, and I have a feeling he's going to give Rudy Gobert 60 or some ridiculous stat. He's definitely going to fill up the stat sheet in that game. So it could really go either way. But with Ant in the lineup, anything's possible. Like, anything is possible with Ant in the lineup. I mean, he's the one who called the fact that this series was going to 7 games, so I'm not really going to put anything past him. But at the same time, Jokic is extremely pissed off. Like, very mad. So, with that, we are out of time for this first segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the second segment where we talk about OG Anunoby being out for Game 6 and what exactly that could mean for the New York Knicks going into the series. So I will be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, we're going to talk about OG Anunoby not being available for Game 6, but possibly being available for Game 7. And before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody to please go ahead and use the link in the description to get your comments recognized or the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment. Once again, the link is GSMCPodcast.net. It really helps the show. It makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. And once again, the link is GSMCPodcast.net. And with that out of the way, let's go right ahead and talk about OG Anunoby and the possibility of him returning for Game 7. So, he will remain sidelined. He's been sidelined throughout the majority of the series, suffering a hamstring injury in Game 2. You can't have anything nice if you're on New York. I swear that's just how it is. It's just not fair. Now, New York is ahead of Indiana in this series. The series is now 3-2. So there is a pretty good chance that he might return for the very last game to play for New York at home and hopefully help the team win if the series even goes to a Game 7, because the Knicks could close it out right here and right now. I mean, well, technically not right here, since right here is like New York, New Jersey, and right over there. You get what I'm saying. But regardless, the game is supposed to start at 8:30 tonight on ESPN. And the Pacers, they're a very good team when they play in Indiana. So I have my doubts, and I'm not entirely sure how good the Knicks are going to play in the away game this time around. But they did play good in Game 3, and they were just one step back three from tying the game and taking it into overtime and potentially winning that game. So I'm not going to say that they play bad away simply because of like one blowout loss that they had in Game 4. Like, the game was close in Game 3. I'm not going to ignore that game completely, even though I would love to ignore that game, because that step back three had absolutely no right going in. Zero right going in whatsoever. That was a horrible shot, but, you know, the basketball gods just said, oh, it's the Knicks. Let them experience some more pain, and just boop, dropped it right down the middle. Really upsetting. But in OG's 8 available playoff games that he was playing in, he averaged 16 points on 49% from the field, 39% from 3, 61% from the line, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and 1 steal. Those were his averages in all of the games that he's been available for the Knicks in the playoffs. And that is extremely valuable. Like, that he's by far the best defender on the Knicks roster. And you need that defense when you're going up against Indiana, because Indiana moves incredibly quickly, and you need someone that's able to get a stop here and there. And OG is the perfect candidate for that, especially when you have someone like Jalen Brunson on defense every single time. Because I love Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a demon. He is a phenomenal player, but his defense and the fact that he's undersized, it makes him a liability on the other end of the court. He might be very good offensively, but he is an extremely huge liability on the defensive side of the court. He gets steals here and there, obviously. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that he doesn't play defense or doesn't try to play defense, but still, it's very difficult to be a defender when you're 6'1" and when you're that 6'2", like the same height as Donovan Mitchell. Like, it's really difficult to get stops like that. So that's sort of why OG Anunoby is like the equalizer between, like, you know, the offense and the defense, because he's a very, very good perimeter defender, and he can be that perimeter defender that Jalen Brunson can't be, while Jalen Brunson can be that offensive player that OG Anunoby can't be. Not only that, but OG also dunks the ball like a grown man. Like, everyone saw that dunk on Joel Embiid, I'm sure, right? That's a grown man's dunk right there. And you sort of need that toughness, especially when you need everything that you can get if you're the Knicks. So the winner of this series is obviously going to face the Boston Celtics, and I'd be extremely terrified of playing the Boston Celtics without having OG on the roster, because the Boston Celtics, they have a very formidable starting five. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford now, considering how Kristaps has still been out recently, but Al Horford. So having OG in the lineup, it means that you have the possibility of slowing down Jaylen Brown just a little bit, or Jason Tatum just a little bit. Again, not entirely sure how they're going to play in the series, but OG being a defender is incredibly valuable, so that way you can slow them down. And honestly, I would put OG on Jaylen Brown just because Jaylen Brown has absolutely no left hand. it's a joke, but like seriously, his left hand is like really bad for someone who's in the NBA. Like I'm extremely surprised with how bad his left hand is, but regardless, he has no left hand, and since he doesn't have a left hand, OG is going to pluck that immediately every single time. Just straight up like NBA 2K24 right stick ripper, pow, give me the ball. Every single time. Like, obviously it's not going to happen every single time, I'm being optimistic, but OG's defense towards Jaylen Brown, I feel like that's going to be something that could be a huge X factor in the series and ultimately make Jaylen Brown a non-important factor in the entirety of the postseason and force the team to rely on one of their stars as opposed to all of their stars. Because the one thing that I noticed about the Boston Celtics is that when they win, they dominate. And when they dominate, it's not just one player doing all the heavy lifting. It's the entire team. So now the Knicks are going to have to force the Celtics in a situation to make somebody play hero ball. Like, that's going to be the best chances of them winning in this series. Because not a single... They have not had to rely on one person throughout any of these postseason games. Like, whenever one person performs, then the rest of the team seems to perform. So, if they're going to be forced to rely on one person, then there's going to be a lot more pressure that one person is going to have to expect in this postseason. Because the Celtics, they aren't... In the postseason now, they aren't used to needing to play hero ball. So, with that in mind, I have a feeling that if you, like, force one player to do all the heavy lifting, eventually the Celtics are going to lose at least a couple of games. If that's a big if these guys like the Celtics team and if the Knicks play the defense that they're supposed to play on this Celtics team. Like, I could definitely see that happening. But then again, I can also see Jason Tatum just unlocking his inner Mamba mentality or something like that and just ending the game and winning the game for the Celtics every single time and making me want to shrivel up into a ball and cry. I can totally see both outcomes happening. And in reality, like, I'm scared. I'm very afraid of the Boston Celtics and this series. Like, and I'm so scared that it's like we haven't even beaten the Pacers yet, and I'm already thinking about the Boston Celtics because it's like, Jesus, those guys are ridiculous. They're way too good for they're way too good for the franchise. They're just, and I don't like how they're good. I really don't. But aside from that, we still have to worry about Game 6 against Indiana. Fingers crossed, hopefully the Knicks can pull out with this one. Hopefully they can pull out with this one. Whether it be in Game 7 or whether it be in Game 6, doesn't matter to me. Hopefully they pull out and they succeed. So with that, we are out of time in this second segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the third segment where I try to make sense of this Cavs drama, because now I am very, very confused what the Cavs are going to be doing and what is going on. Like, extremely confused. And you guys will see after this short break why I'm confused. So I will be right back.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to continue talking about the Cavs drama because I'm extremely confused. I don't know what is going on. I don't know which side to believe. I don't know what's happening in the Cavs locker room or in the Cavs drama. But we have some new news and some new insider information on what the heck is going on. First of all, I'm just going to say Jarrett Allen is the softest tall person that I've ever met in my entire life, or that I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's insane to say because I see Joel Embiid play basketball and him do this every single time he sees a defender near him, flailing his body like an IG model just to get to the foul line. It infuriates me how Jarrett Allen just refused to take whichever injection that he needed to hopefully help the Cavs win. Not because I'm a Cavs fan, but because, as a former Net, you seriously are that soft? Like, really? And what really infuriates me is how, I know he was nervous in that game. I know he was nervous playing in the postseason. Because this isn't the first time that he's been nervous. When he was on Cleveland last year, he played horrible in the postseason. And he said the lights were too bright. Now he gets an option to play in the postseason and inject himself with something that will make his body go numb and his ribs go numb to his injury. And he's just like, nope, don't want to take it. The most disappointing player in the entire series. The most disappointing. And that's just one piece of the drama that I wanted to get out of the way because I simply cannot believe that he actually did that. So now let's move on to Donovan Mitchell. So yesterday, I said that Donovan Mitchell was a little bit unhappy with how immature all of his teammates were going in the locker room and going into the series. And now all of a sudden, Donovan Mitchell says, I've been happy since I've arrived in Cleveland. This is the source that says this was Woj, so he's the one who said this. And I'm very confused. Because it's like, how is it that we hear one insider information say that the Cavs were immature and Donovan was unhappy, and now we hear Woj saying that the Donovan Mitchell is happy? I'm very confused. Because it's like one or the other, and I have no idea which side to believe, because again, on one end, they're saying that he was unhappy, and then on the other end, they're saying that he was happy. So, maybe the first time was just rumors, and then the second time was just confirmation from him. Or maybe the first time was just, since a lot of fans and a lot of players, they don't want inside locker room problems to go out to the public. So maybe they went out to the public, and now Donovan Mitchell is sort of trying to remedy the situation and lie his way out and say that he is actually happy on Cleveland. I have no idea. I don't know what side to believe. I don't know whether he's happy. I don't know whether he's sad. It's one or the other. It's so confusing. But, because it's like, you're hot or you're cold. You're yes or you're no. What is going on? So, another piece of drama is it's, according to Woj, Donovan Mitchell and his agents will meet with the Cavs, quote, at the right time, end quote, to discuss his future with the organization. So, Donovan Mitchell is eligible to sign a 4-year, $209 million extension with the Cavs and their roster, which is, honestly, that's a lot of money. I wouldn't be surprised if Donovan Mitchell decides to take it. However, there are some problems with the guard play, and I don't understand why. So, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, I don't know what the relationship is between those two players, but they don't really seem to want to play with each other. So, according to Brian Windhorst, Clutch Sports is going to meet with the Cavs to facilitate Darius Garland being traded if Donovan Mitchell decides to stay. So, you have to choose between one or the other with these guards. The Cavs have to choose between either Darius Garland or choose between Donovan Mitchell. Personally, I would choose Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland, get the heck out of here. You played horrible in Game 5. Like, we don't need you. Donovan Mitchell is so much better than Darius Garland. Darius Garland has utterly disappointed me throughout the entirety of this season. I thought he was going to be some ridiculous talent, and again, a 25 point per game scorer, but he is just nothing but a disappointment. And I usually don't talk down on players like this but he's been nothing but disappointing. And now he wants to be a diva and just be like, oh, if he's staying on the team, then I want to get out of here. It's between me or him. It's like, it's immature, and I cannot stand this immaturity, because it's like, why? Just stay with him and like learn from him, if anything, or get good. Like, because you have the pieces, you have exactly what you need to be successful. But no, it's like, pick one or the other. Like, why are we doing this pick one or the other stuff? It doesn't make any sense to me. And the Timberwolves, they're a dark horse to potentially acquire Darius Garland, which would be crazy. So it's like, you have 3 options with the Cavs. A, you give Donovan Mitchell that supermax, and then you have to trade Darius Garland. B, you don't give Donovan Mitchell that supermax. Instead, you trade him, and thus keeping Darius Garland and, having some more cap space and having some more money to sign a bunch of players and build around Darius Garland. Or C, blow everything up. Get rid of Donovan and get rid of Darius Garland as well. And give Evan Mobley the keys. Because Evan Mobley, he actually played very well in the elimination game. So I really wouldn't mind him being, trying him out to be a first or trying him out to be a second option. Because, who knows? Maybe he'll play good. Maybe he'll play bad. Who knows exactly how he'll play? But it's worth a shot. So those are your 3 options when you're the Cavs. You either take Donovan, you either take Darius, or you just get rid of both of them and take Evan Mobley. Literally the ultimate trump card, honestly. And as a GM and someone who's tired of little children, I would get rid of both of them. But if I were to look to win, then I'd get rid of Darius Garland. Like, those are the 2 options that I have. And honestly, knowing the Cavs and their roster, and knowing LeBron James and his luck, chances are they're going to choose Donovan Mitchell instead of Darius Garland, and Darius is going to get traded. And because of that, the Nets and the Lakers and their trades for, Donovan Mitchell, because they do have trades lined up ready for Donovan Mitchell, they're going to fall short simply because Donovan is going to want to stay on the Cavs. Which would be a ridiculous Uno reverse card. Honestly, it would be a ridiculous Uno reverse card. But regardless, those are the options that the Cavs have. And again, with Donovan Mitchell being happy or Donovan Mitchell being unhappy, I have no idea, exactly what the Cavs are going to do. And discuss at the right time, I have no idea what that means. It's just so much uncertainty with this, with these guys, and it's just ridiculous. It's Kyrie all over again with these two. It really just it rattles my brain. I don't understand why we need all this uncertainty. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm really upset. I'm really upset that it really has come down to 2 players being divas. It's either between him or it's between me. Who the heck cares? Both of you get good. And that's all I gotta say on this topic. And I'm sorry for being disrespectful for towards a lot of these players, but it's when you turn into a diva, even though you're making so much money in the NBA, I just immediately lose respect for you, especially when you're not taking accountability. Darius Garland is between Donovan Mitchell or me, and you want to know what he did in the postseason? Hold on. Let's pull up the box scores. When Donovan Mitchell was out, he dropped 11 points and 9 assists. And you want to know what he shot? 4 for 17 from the field. Fantastic. You definitely have some grounds to say, pick between him or me. I just can't stand that whatsoever. You can't say pick between him or me after playing this badly in the postseason. Like, are you blind? But that's all I gotta say. Because, like, if I continue to rant, it's just going to be a whole other thing, and it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. Like, that behavior is unacceptable to me. That is unacceptable. But that's all I got for this third segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment where I talk about LeBron James and Bronny James. LeBron lied to us yet again. I'll explain what he lied to us about right after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And now, in this fourth segment, we are going to talk about LeBron James, and how he lied to us yet again. He's a big liar. That's all he is. I can see why LeBron has all this hate, because he does nothing but lie. He does nothing but torment the... I'm sorry, I can't say all of that with a straight face, because there's people that actually cannot stand LeBron because, like, he doesn't tell the truth here and there. And I'm just like, in this situation, sometimes circumstances change. So, it's not like he lied. He didn't really lie, but he did kind of lie. I'll explain. So, it's almost like known to the entire world that LeBron wants to play with his son, Bronny. And it's so well known that it can generate its own segment on a TV show like this, or a TV show like on ESPN, or wherever the heck it is. But one of the things, so it's been speculated that when you draft Bronny, then eventually right after you're going to get LeBron James to be on your team. Sorry for that noise. I just accidentally put my hand on the microphone. So you draft Bronny, you immediately get LeBron. That was the thought process going into this draft class with Bronny in it. That was the thought process. And LeBron has a player option that he can decline and stay on the Lakers, or he can, use his player option and become a free agent and pick whichever team Bronny gets drafted to. That was the thought process, and that was what I thought was going to happen. However, turns out that isn't entirely true. Hence why I'm saying LeBron lied to us. Because during an appearance on Up and Adams, Shams, he went out of the Athletic and Stadium, and he said that he would not be surprised if teams reached out to LeBron's camp to gauge his interest in joining them should they draft Bronny. And LeBron's answer, according to Shams, would be no as of right now. Quote. That was what Shams said. So, again, like I said before, LeBron can become a free agent and sign elsewhere this offseason if he declines his player option with the Lakers. But the current indication is that he will make his decision independent of the entire Bronny situation. So that completely destroys any sort of argument for wanting to draft Bronny in this draft. I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't think a single team is going to even think about drafting Bronny anymore now. Because the only reason why you would want to draft Bronny is in the hopes of getting LeBron James. Excuse me. And since the Lakers, since they now do not get or aren't going to be able to get LeBron James because of, or whichever team, now that they're not going to be able to get LeBron James after drafting Bronny, what's the point? what's even the point in drafting Bronny in the first place if you're not going to get LeBron James? So that completely changes my opinion of Bronny entering the draft, because I thought that Bronny was going to be able to get with any team that he wanted, because eventually once you draft Bronny, you get LeBron. I was completely wrong. Turns out LeBron is going to make his own decision on where he's going to stay and what he's going to do with his career, independent of what Bronny is going to do with his career. So that is not ideal. That's really, really bad if you're any other team. And if you're any team that had plans of drafting Bronny in hopes of getting LeBron, RIP. And it also should also point out that it would seem that, of course, the Lakers seem to be the favorites to go and pursue Bronny. Of course the Lakers would be the favorites. And the Lakers have interviewed Bronny, actually, according to Dan Woike. Again, forgive me if I completely botched that last name. I have no idea who in the world that is. But that was the source where this information came from. And they've interviewed Bronny James, and they could draft him with their 55th pick in the draft. But the Jets, which isn't too bad. However, again, excuse me for the allergies, but again, like, obviously, like, the Lakers are going to be the favorites to try and get Bronny because LeBron is on the Lakers, and LeBron wants to play with his son. So obviously, the Lakers are going to be the favorite. But aside from the Lakers, there's also, surprisingly, the Utah Jazz. Now, the Jazz have expressed interest in bringing Bronny James in for an individual workout and could be interested in drafting him with the 32nd pick. And, again, very surprised. I don't understand. I don't know why the Jazz of all teams would want to draft Bronny, but all power to them if they really want him. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers immediately try to trade for Bronny, so that way they could play, LeBron and Bronny together, and LeBron can live his dream of finally playing with his son, which would be pretty cool. That would be really, really cool. And honestly, I'm very surprised with all these, with how LeBron completely changed his mind and didn't double down on playing with his son. I mean, maybe this is sort of what he's trying to go for here. Maybe, this is a huge brainstorm here, maybe he's only saying this so that way he can find out which team really wants his son. Because he knows that teams are going to want to draft his son just to get him. And that might have a negative effect on Bronny and his ego or his thought process, because he's going into the draft thinking, wow, these guys only want me because they want a chance to coach my dad, or they want a chance to have my dad on the team, and it's not because of me whatsoever. Maybe he's doing a huge Uno reverse card, and he's trying to make it seem like his son will get drafted because the team legitimately wants him to be on the team, and thus giving Bronny the motivation and the boost that he needs, and not damaging his ego because his own dad is the reason why he got drafted. Like, maybe he wants to see his son be able to do it on his own. I think that's sort of the play here, and that's why LeBron backed down from his statement of, if you're going to draft my son, then I'm going to play with him, or things of that nature. Maybe that's what he wanted to avoid. Maybe that's what he wanted to avoid with all that controversy surrounding him. Maybe. But then again, no idea exactly what he wants to do. But we'll see. We'll see who plays. We'll see how it goes. But it does seem like that's what's going to happen. Then again, maybe he just really just wants to win the championship, because I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to try and win the championship for his legacy, because I mean, he still needs another ring. I mean, he should have had another ring. I'm not even going to lie to you. You should have multiple more rings, but it's just, teammates and bad luck always messes with him. It's really unfortunate. But aside from that, I mean, we'll see how the draft process goes. We'll see exactly what goes on. We'll see what happens. But in reality, I think that, again, this was just a big Uno reverse from LeBron. I still think that if Bronny gets drafted, he's going to try and do whatever it takes to either go over to the other team he gets drafted to or bring him to the LA. Which either or, I don't know exactly which one's going to happen, but I could see that happening. So with that, we are out of time for this fourth segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fifth segment where I talk about, it's going to be a little bit different than every other segment because I'm actually going to talk about the WNBA and a game that's coming up and exactly and why that game's important. You guys will know after this short break as I go into the fifth segment. And we are back with the fifth segment, of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, I got some big news. You see the bottom of that headline? That's right. The Liberty play the Indiana Fever tomorrow at 1 p.m. on ABC. And I'm going to be going to that game personally. So my parents were able to get tickets for the game because, they know a guy that works in that Madison Square Garden. They know a guy that works in that little arena over there that the Liberty go into. And because of that, we got tickets. And since we got tickets, we're going to see Caitlin. And because of the, I do host a basketball podcast. If you guys want to see all the reactions that I have, I'm going to be uploading a bunch of shorts just talking about the game while I'm over there and just showing a bunch of I'm going to check to see if I have the legal rights to be able to show you guys my own footage of the game while I'm over there. Depending on how good my seats are, maybe I'll show you guys stuff clips on the court and this, that, and the other. But I'm definitely going to be talking a lot about the game, and I'm definitely going to be doing a bunch of shorts tomorrow. So be sure to tune into those shorts if you guys are interested in what I have to say and what the game is, exactly what happens, this, that, and the other. But so far, just a little bit of the history just a little bit of what's going on in the WNBA right now. So the New York Liberty, they're 2-0. They actually recently played the Indiana Fever yesterday, and they completely blew them out of the water 102-66. Caitlin played horribly in that game and was really, really bad at shooting the ball and was bad at turning the ball over, everything. She was just not the same player that we're used to seeing. She shot 1 for 7 from 3, 2 for 8 from the field, and only had 9 points. She's been really underwhelming in her debut. But again, you can't really expect someone to be so good just to right out the gate. Like, not everybody is LeBron James. I mean, granted, I thought she was going to be good right out the gate, but there is a lot of pressure that she's facing now. There's also a target on her back simply because she was the highest protege in the in women's basketball. And with that target on her back, there's going to be a lot more pressure and a lot better defense being played on her than usual. Now, Brianna Stewart, she had 31 points in this game. Sabrina Ionescu didn't really play that well in this game either, but she made them count. 6 for 14 with 14 points. Again, not very efficient, but regardless, still made it count. And a win is a win is a win. And that's really all that matters. And the team shot poorly from 3, 8 for 27, but it was still good enough to beat the Indiana Fever, which just shows, like, you know, how much work that the Fever still need to have. And now they're going into this next game playing the Liberty at home. I wouldn't be surprised if the results are going to be exactly the same in this game, but regardless, still going to have fun going to this game. I'm still going to talk about the game. I'm still going to cover a little bit about the game while I'm there. And I'm still going to do, you know, a couple of recordings about that. But that's all that I really wanted to say about this segment, simply because I just wanted to let everybody know that I would be going to this Liberty game / Indiana Fever game, whatever you want to call it. It'll be the first WNBA game that I'm actually going to be attending, which is kind of sad to admit, but unfortunately, you know, that's just how it goes. We weren't interested in WNBA up until now, and no one was interested in the WNBA up until now, and that's all right. Like, I feel bad for not being interested in it until now, but unfortunately, there was just nobody in the WNBA that really caught my attention. They weren't doing anything that I haven't seen before. Now that Caitlin's in the WNBA, there will be a star, and there's definitely, like, a lot more that she can do on the court than everyone else. But she does have that slow start. So, because of that slow start, I'm not going to say that she is the one yet, but we do have to see how it develops later on in the future. We just have to give her some more time. Granted, I'm very surprised that we need to give her time and we didn't give, and like Angel Reese, the media is giving Angel Reese so much backlash for her just doing what she does. Like, she was getting backlash for going at the Met Gala. Everyone was like, why is she at the Met Gala? Why isn't she focused on her game? Meanwhile, she's out here scoring all the points that she can and winning in almost every single game that she could. I mean, let me just go ahead and pull up the scores last game. So, let me just see. Because I know she's, I remember she was 2-0, and she was winning, and she was doing a very good job in playing. I mean, they lost that game, pardon me, but she played really well in the next game no, she didn't even play well that game. Excuse me. Angel Reese, she played pretty well, but the rest of the team just didn't play that well. Ugh. Not very good. Not very good coming in from Angel, but regardless, you know, she's still definitely putting up a lot more points than Caitlin in these few games, even though it's only like the start of the season for these women. So it's like, it's a little bit unfair saying that they gotta be a little bit better. It's a little bit unfair to say that both of those girls need to be better. They are rookies still, and I feel like we should just take their time with them. I mean, that's not saying that I'm going to bubble wrap Caitlin every single time that she plays bad. If she plays bad, I'm going to let you guys know that she plays bad. And it really doesn't matter to me, because it's like, that's the truth. Like, if you play bad, you play bad. Plain and simple. Everyone has their bad games, everyone has their good games. Nothing wrong with that, plain and simple. So that's basically all I have to say and all I have to talk about in this fifth segment. So thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And be sure to leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. And we also like to remind you to please use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. It is GSMCPodcast.net. Really ups the show, makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. That's all I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson. I will see you guys at the Liberty game, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet.